There's a fire in my soul, in my soul. And every time it burns, that's when I know where to go, where to go, where I am to go.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Behind the Senior Lens. I am Lori Wood Habiger, senior photographer in the Kansas City area, and my business is Center Stage Seniors. Today, I am talking with a friend of mine, Stacy Gleason, who works in the Southern California area. So let's welcome Stacy.
Okay.
Welcome, Stacy. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Behind the Senior Lens podcast. Stacy and I met each other at a conference this past summer and have been friends ever since. We sat together and anyway, I'm really glad that you could join me today. And so tell me, where are you? And, give me a little insight into your life.
So I'm in Southern California, and it's kind of, I'd say, halfway between LA and Santa Barbara, just to give you an idea. So it is kind of nice because as far as photography, I can kind of go both directions, and kind of have a really different, set of scenery or, city scene or nice fields with flowers. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah. So how long have you been in photography and then wanting to really ramp up the senior business?
So I think it started about 20 years ago, kind of like most of us, where you take some pictures and somebody says they love it. Can I have copies? And back when we did film,
Yeah.
and then somebody else says, oh my gosh, those were so nice. Can you do some for me? And you start doing it for free and you realize, holy cow, this is super expensive and I can't maintain this, helping people out. So then you start charging really low, kind of work your way up. And then really got into it after I had my twins. Like a lot of us as well, we all kind of have to balance our life and find a way to raise our kids and also earn some money and keep ourselves sane sometimes.
Yes.
So I think about 14 years ago is when I started doing quite a bit more.
So is that when you just officially launched yourself into business?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say about then. Yeah, I was still working in the pharmaceutical industry as well, but I would do photography on weekends and evenings and stuff like that.
When did you decide you really wanted to start working on photographing seniors in particular?
I think it started out with when I was younger, I had friends who were getting married. So it was a lot of weddings, or actually prior to that, a lot of engagements and showers, and then the weddings, and then kind of the baby showers, and then the babies, and then families as the kids were growing. And now all of my kids and my friends' kids seem to be kind of, getting to the age now where I think I still am keeping the same clients and getting referrals from them. And so they seem to be kind of aging. They're aging as I'm aging. And so I find that I relate to them better than I do necessarily to children, because I don't know that I know the popular TV shows anymore to help sing to the kids or to help entertain them or mention something that's relevant to them. So I do feel like as I age, I kind of gravitate more towards seniors. I really like it. They're just fabulous. And they're always so happy to have you there and so excited. And so I think it's just kind of evolving that way.
Yeah. And don't you find, at least for me, I photographed all the things before, like the babies and the families and all that. I didn't really do weddings, but one thing I really like about seniors is being able to focus on one person.
Absolutely love focusing on one person. I totally agree with you that is like, I don't know, it's fun because you just give all your attention to that person and you can kind of pay attention more to small details. Like, hey, let me fix that small hair. Let me, your shirt needs to be adjusted, or, I definitely agree with you in that regard, as being able to focus on one person and kind of be more playful and not feel as rushed that somebody else might not be getting the attention they need, or you don't feel as like panicked like at a wedding.
Oh yeah. But even connecting kind of on an emotional level, you just kind of feel like the two of you get into this zone when
Yes.
you're shooting. And I don't ever feel that way with families or anything else.
Yeah, that's true because you have time to kind of stroll around with them and be able to ask questions about their life. And are they excited about school? Are they dating anybody? Are they? So you're right. You do kind of build a nice rapport, and it just that does feel good because you are connected. And I think it does make the entire experience better for them because they feel so special, like you care to ask them about themselves and to
Yes.
relate to them. And yeah.
And the whole day makes them feel special, really.
That's true. It is true. I was at a conference just last weekend, and it was interesting because I was there with somebody who happens to be a very, very talented photographer, and he's 19 years old. And we were having a discussion about relating to the teenagers 17, 18, and it was fascinating because he knew a lot more. And he instantly knew actors to name, and he knew, songs to kind of pick up on. And I saw him with the models we were working with say, "You look like so and so," and they'd gasp. And I thought to myself, shoot, I don't know who that is. So I do feel like I need to work on kind of being more current a little more.
Yeah, I try, but if I have a twin sister, and my twin sister knows all the things. So she would be like this kid you're talking about. She would know which actors and actresses to talk
Yeah,
to them about and who they look like, but I'm not as good at that. Although
I'm
I
not either.
always think my seniors look like someone. So I just photographed two girls yesterday. One I'm just looks like Kate Blanchett to me.
Oh,
One looks like a cross between Princess Diana and Kristen Stewart. So I am a little proud of myself because I do know the Kristen Stewart one.
yeah.
The others are obviously old school, but
Yeah, and to your point, it was actually funny because what did they say? They said they asked him, for example, they said, "Do you know who George Clooney is?" And he's 19, and he
yeah,
goes, "No." He goes, "I've heard the name." He said, "But I don't know who that is." And so for us, we kind of go like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh, George Clooney," you
Bring up
know.
George.
Exactly. But he said, "Oh, I would never think that or say that." I mean, obviously, most seniors don't look like George Clooney, but, just to say it was funny to know that we have these references, Kate Blanchett and something. He'd probably, if you asked him that, he wouldn't have known either.
No,
So,
probably not.
and like you, I think my husband is the same way where he works in luxury. And so part of his job is to know branding and what's current. And he
Yeah.
knows the whole world of rap and hip hop and the street scene and all of that. Whereas I'm not as in touch with that. So I think I should work harder on it because it does seem like what from watching him, his name was Matt, he was able to really relate quickly, and I saw their eyes light up. So I do think that's something I would kind of like to work on.
Yeah, and it's fun. What I do is I follow my seniors on Instagram, and so many of them are always posting like some maybe an album or a song comes out and they love it and they put it in their story, or I can see what concerts they're at. Yeah, the Instagram stories help me. And I'm just like, who is this person? Everybody gets so excited. There'll be one day when some young couple gets engaged and it's in everyone's story. And I'm like, who are these people? And I'll finally ask, and a girl will tell me there's some influencers that got engaged. And that shocks me though. They're so invested in some random influencer couple that all of them are putting these people's
Yes.
engagement in their story. There's no way I'm going to keep up with these influencers. I do not like them. So,
I mean, it's impossible. It's a full-time job. I think that's where I get overwhelmed. But
yeah.
I do, from watching Matt, I do think it is important for me to get a little more in touch.
True. Of course, there are many, many ways to connect with teens. And what I do is I'm a very motherly person.
Yeah.
I connect with my kids in a motherly way. And
Yeah.
when I say my kids, I'm talking about my seniors. And they really do respond to the motherly part. So I'm just going to not worry so much if I don't know the latest rapper.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And just go with what I'm good at. And that's the nurturing motherly part. So I'm
That's
sure this
true.
boy doesn't do good with the motherly part.
He definitely has the fun,
Yes.
outgoing. They just they eat that. So I guess to your point, again, it's just we have to work with what our strengths are.
We all have
Yeah.
our own personas and personalities, and
Yeah.
yeah, you just find out what it is about you that can easily connect with the teens and work on that part. So,
That makes sense. Just being like, I think like being happy and warm and like excited to be there and to have an energy level. Cause the feedback I get from the kids a lot at the end of the shoot is, my gosh, this was so fun. And you made it so nice for me. And I didn't know it would be this much fun. And I was really nervous, but now I'm not. So it's always like a huge compliment.
well, it is. And I see that in you anyway. You're a welcoming, warm person. And so you don't even have to try for that to translate into the work with the kids that you do. So,
Which is why
yeah.
we connected.
Okay, well, tell me about your family.
I have twin 14-year-olds, a boy and a girl. And then my spouse is named Matt, and we live in California. We were all born and raised here. And I don't know how long we can stay here. We've had quite a bit of fires, and everything just keeps getting more and more expensive. So I don't know, that is difficult. And, you know, I love it here and I don't ever want to leave, but and my entire family's here in wine industry, and they all live in Northern California up in the Napa Valley. And so we're very rooted here, and my grandparents from here, both sets. And
Yeah.
so definitely years and years of being Californians.
Do your twins want photo shoots?
No, no, nope.
You know, years ago, I was on this message board and it was for family and children photographers back when I was one of those. And at the time, everybody talked about FCS, which was we called photographer's child syndrome.
Syndrome. Yes.
In that, so many people, high school girls will say, "Oh my gosh, I bet your daughter was just so thrilled to have you as a photographer." And I'm like, no, no,
No.
not really. It's different when the mom is the photographer.
It's true. I mean, even people, a friend, Tara, who's a obscenely good photographer. Her daughter's on her model team. And I just asked her this weekend, is she like over the moon about all of these editorial shoots you've been doing in these fantastic locations? And she said, no, my God, no. She smiles and she's beautiful, and she'll appreciate it later, but she says it's just not her thing. So I think it just happens to all of us.
Yeah.
You'd think you'd have just models ready, to go practice new things on, and it just doesn't, it never works out.
So, Stacy, what is your gear? What do you like to shoot with?
I'm a Canon girl. I think I just had it since I was young. Even my little point and shoots to my film cameras. And I just became loyal to the brand for some reason. And I'm sure some of that ties in with being lazy, of learning an entirely new setup and system, and rebuying everything. Although when I did switch years ago to the mirrorless, I thought, oh, I can keep my lenses and use the adapter. And I did that for one shoot, and then I just sold them all and thought, oh my gosh. So it was like starting over. So
The adapters, at least mine, didn't even work. One of the first shoots I had a 50 millimeter DSLR type lens, and I used the adapter on my new mirrorless, and it just started like glitching and being all weird.
oh no.
Like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I just sold all my old lenses and started over.
Same. I mean, it was one shoot, and luckily I think I recouped most of the money on the adapter and everything on eBay, but it was too much, and keep adding and adding and adding, and the camera was already heavier to begin with than my other one, and the lenses were heavier. So I don't know, but I'm happy with the mirrorless. I feel like the focus on it is really amazing. I like Canon overall. I'm a little bummed about the profiles since they switched to mirrorless. My editing, I mean, how many nights I cried after I got the mirrorless, because suddenly my normal editing I couldn't do, and I felt very frustrated that like my pictures looked muddy and flat and just not the same. And maybe a preset or something, a way to punch a photo up that I used to do, suddenly looked really odd. So that learning curve has been pretty annoying. And it's not as bad now, but I still definitely go through it. And I've just really had to learn to just shoot perfectly in camera, which I guess you should be doing anyway, or as close to perfect as you can. And then it's not as awful.
I'll have to confession, I don't care if my straight out of cameras are perfect or even close.
Oh, then you're better at editing than I am.
Do
That's
not
for
care.
sure.
Everybody's like, oh, you should shoot to nail it in camera. And I'm like, why?
Well, I mean, I get your point. And I used to do that, and I had a lot to like fiddle with. But like I said, I don't know. When I switched to mirrorless, I just don't know what happened and why I'm not understanding how to fix what bothers me.
That is an
So,
interesting, and I think we talked about it before. I did not have that at all when switching from Nikon DSLR to mirrorless. Like everything looks very similar to me. So anyway, sorry you had to deal with that. Well, what's your favorite lens?
85
Okay.
for sure.
Have you dabbled with other ones, or you just kind of always been an 85?
No, when I had my last camera, the DSLR, I loved the 70 to 200 for portraits. And then suddenly when I switched over to the mirrors, I was like, well, maybe I'm going to try this 85 just to get a prime lens. And my first shoot, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Like, I just thought it was just a beautiful creamy colors. But I do have to laugh because at the conference I was at last weekend, the woman who was running the conference named Tara, she said, stop. You keep grabbing what you know and what you're comfortable with. She said, I'm going to tell you today, don't pull that lens out. And so I didn't pull it out. She said, use your 28 to 70 all day and see if you can get more of an editorial look, try and get more comfortable in using it. And really right now, I only use it at corporate events or something where obviously I've got to be able to get a wider shot of something. But generally for all my portraits, I love to just get that creamy background.
Oh, me too. I use the 135 and
yes.
I struggle though, because I love it so much. So I did run an 85 and oh my gosh, I love it too. But it seems overkill to have a 135 and an 85. So
I think that's where I am because my second shooter, her favorite lens is the 135. And so she always says it's the best. And I always say, but why do I need both? But then I feel like I need both. I don't know if I can afford both.
Yeah. It's all what we love, like our own styles and what we love to shoot with. So I don't shoot with wide angles. I don't enjoy it. I'll do it once in a while for like a styled shoot that I'm doing where I want a film look because all the old film cameras were 35 millimeter, but other people rock it, I like long focal lengths and I like prime lenses and I like really shallow depth of field, but other people don't care about some of the same things I do.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like you where I gravitate to that, but I did appreciate the whole concept of, hey, step outside of yourself and maybe see if you can get better at this other editorial type look, because like you, it's always that creamy, but when I did take the picture, like Tara had suggested, it was fascinating to go, okay, that was definitely cool because it kind of told a story with the city behind and the lights and the sign and the bus going by or whatever the case may be. So it is kind of fun to dabble in both, but yeah, my heart always just wants that 85.
Two, it's a matter of what our vision for portraiture is. To me, portraiture is very much a portrait, like the paintings from a long time ago. It's focused on the human.
Yeah.
To me, having a person standing in a cityscape and they're tiny and the big city is behind them isn't really a portrait. It's a cool picture. Now, this is just my own view of things, but it's not really a portrait. So yeah, the wide angles I love to get, the whole cityscape, but when it comes to actually conveying that person and their who they are, I really like the long focal lengths. So anyway,
and I guess for me, a lot of the places I shoot are kind of similar to what you do, where it's like a field or something like that, where I'm not saying it's not interesting all around, but it's just a lot of field.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think I zoom in to kind of just get
Yeah.
focus on the person. I don't know. I might dabble a little and try to like step out of my box.
It's great. One of my favorite photographers, I'm not going to name her name, just because I've never actually spoken to her or
Yeah.
anything, but she does, it's got to be a 35 or maybe even a 24 millimeter all the time. She just places young women into these massive mountainous, foresty, fieldy, like countryscapes, and it's beautiful, and it's one of my favorites, I think, because it's so unlike my own work. And so I know what you're talking about, just getting that other lens out that you're not used to and shooting with it is just like, yeah, it broadens your view of things and stretches your creativity, and so that's fun.
It's true. And then I do find that one of my faults is definitely going on autopilot and just like doing the same poses, the same lens, the same location. And so sometimes I know the clients want that because that's why they hired you, because they saw your work.
Yeah.
But as a photographer, sometimes you're like, oh gosh, that again. Or in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm repeating the same thing, but it's not to them because they're a
Yes.
new face in the picture.
I
But I do struggle with that, you know.
I do too. I just constantly remind myself it's new to them, even if it's my 700th time to photograph a sunset, in a
Yeah,
grassy field. But I'm like, this girl hasn't experienced it before.
that's true.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about your work.
Okay.
I am going to share. So, Stacy, you sent me some of your work, and I took a look at it, and I put this one in the first position on purpose because I absolutely love this. And to me, this is Stacy to me.
Oh,
So you do have that really shallow depth of field that you
yes.
like to work with, and it shows. This image right here shows why so many of us love the look of very shallow depth of field. So
Right.
you've got this stunning kid. She's so comfortable with you. She's got that direct gaze, very natural smile. Love the pose, but what's beautiful is this road that's disappearing back behind her, this curved road. You can tell you're in this beautiful California landscape, and all of her creamy neutral tones that she's wearing just go so well with the background. And so tell me about the picture.
So, yeah, I mean, she picked out her own outfit, which was nice. I asked her to kind of be neutral and have everything more subtle because the grasses were really kind of, there's still some green back there, but everything was pretty brown. And so that I liked the little slouchy sweater she wore. And to your point, her little sweet gaze when she was smiling and seemed comfortable. It's true. I mean, at the beginning, when I first meet the kids, they're a little like nervous, I find. And I find that once we get going, like my first pictures aren't always the best because they're kind of like, did I do that okay? Did I do that okay? And for example, this one was our last kind of set of the night before the sun went down. And she was definitely feeling like most like herself. And so she kind of was trying different things and she was relaxed. And so I found that just like you said, I love it because it did show her personality. It looks just like her. Like if you meet her, and if you saw this picture, it just would make you just happy thinking of this individual girl. And I loved the hair light. I like how the sun was coming. It was pretty low in the sky. So normally I might like a little more hair light, to be honest, but it did had kind of a nice creamy overall effect. So I didn't mind at all. And she looks just so cute and casual and I don't know, relaxed. I think that's why I like it.
Okay, again, I absolutely love this. So, one thing that I love are kind of caught in the moment portraits where it's not, he is not really posed,
No.
teasing, knows, and I'm sure he knows you're taking a picture, but it almost looks like you caught this kid off guard.
You are correct. Well, this was like, hey, go stand over there and just lean for a second and let me see if this would look okay in a shot. And this was in Malibu and it was so cold and so windy and so dark at this point. And his mom just kept wanting to go. She wanted him more. How about this? How about that? I was like, okay. And so we put him there, and he was, I think, to the point of sometimes the girls, as I mentioned before, can be kind of like the most happy toward the end. He was kind of like, oh my God, did we get enough of me yet? We've been here over an hour. And so he kind of leaned, he said, sure, mom, no problem. He was really sweet and acquiesced. And he walked over and he kind of was just waiting to see what we were going to tell him to do. And so just said, oh, I'm just testing light, and took the picture. And then I ended up really liking it.
Oh, I love it. It's a true human look. It's not what he thinks he should be doing in a portrait. It's just him. And
yes. And this particular kid was interesting because his mom called me ahead of time and said, hey, don't mention that I said this, but he's very shy. He's very awkward. He's a good looking kid, but this is not his thing. So I hope you get some good photos. And so I didn't know what to expect. And then when he showed up, I was like, he's adorable. Oh my gosh. And he just looked like a supermodel the whole time. And afterward, when she got him and he got him, he actually said the same thing. He said, I can't believe how much I like them and how it looks like me, but I don't look like, as they say, a try hard.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I also love your sky. And, a lot of photographers would just blow out the whole sky. And this is really beautiful. Just these soft pastels. It's not overwhelming. I don't know if you inserted a sky in here or if this
No.
was natural. I thought so. What I just love photographers because I do it. Keep the sky, even though I assume you're using natural light here.
Yes. No reflector, nothing else. It just, and like I said, this is kind of to what you mentioned earlier about your photography, that you don't always shoot right in camera. It was kind of toward the end of the night, as I said, and it was really dark, and I was just kind of making the mom happy and doing what she asked.
Right.
And so I was in my mind, I was like, this is really dark. It's cold. The fog had rolled in. It was breezy. And then I just said, okay. And I took the shots and then had to bring it up in post.
Yeah.
But bringing it up in post, to your point, actually made the sky a little bit more interesting versus whenever I shoot at the beach, I blow the sky out like consistently. I think the only way not to for me would be to bring external lights or use a flash sometimes.
Okay. You actually sent me two of this girl. I picked this one because I love that side gaze where she's not looking straight at you.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think you and I kind of have similar portrait styles in a way.
Yeah.
And so probably this is one reason I love your work.
Oh.
But you're a skilled photographer and you're really good at capturing those non-cheesy moments. We always have to get those
Yes.
right.
Right.
The grandma picture, but it's the ones I love the most are just the others like this, and you had it in the shot prior, but she's just looking off. She looks like she's caught in a moment of thinking, and I love it.
Yeah, she's a cute girl. And this was in Napa. And it's nice because when I travel to visit family, I can book shoots. And then it gives me some excitement in my day because I'm not shooting the same thing over and over again. I can shoot in a new environment. And all of my spots in Northern California, they seem so casual about it and not crowded. And I don't need permits and people don't bug me. And so I kind of really like that. Like down here, I'm always like on pins and needles. Like, did I buy the right permit? It just happened to me the other day where I didn't. So, I like it. I like shooting there because I can just walk around different cute towns and take some shots. And it's not city looking per se, but at least it looks a little more interesting than a field for me. So I can mix it up, I guess, is my point.
Yeah. And I think this image shows, and especially with that really shallow depth of field you've got going with your 85, but you don't have to take the kids to, the super famous local landmark to get pictures. It looks like you're standing in maybe a shopping area or an old business district, but that's enough to create a beautiful background. It doesn't have to be anything. I always tell my clients, you just have to trust me. When we get there, it's not going to look like anything, but you just have to trust me. I can get you good, beautiful portraits literally anywhere.
Yeah, I've been shocked learning that sometimes. I mean, I sometimes say that myself. If I show up at a conference, I think, oh my God, why are we here? This
Yeah.
is terrible. And I take one test shot and I go, oh my gosh, this does not look like what I thought it was going to look like. So it even happens to me to remind me.
Yeah.
So I like that slap in the face, you know?
Yes. So I have a problem with some squatting poses in that I just feel like they're so weirdly unnatural. Like, at least in United States, we don't squat a lot. I mean, you look at travel videos in India and everybody's squatting all the time,
Yeah.
but we don't squat a lot. So a lot of squatting just looks strange to me. Like, why is this human doing this?
Yeah.
Normal, she's on a beach, she's squatting down so she can put her hand in the water or the sand, and it's just a really pretty pose. I like that her hand isn't overly large coming out towards the camera, and I love that one hand that's supporting the other hand. I think
Oh,
that's,
cute. I didn't even notice that.
I
Yep.
just like little details like that. And again, you've got a really comfortable kid with a very natural facial expression. So tell me about it.
Ironically, this is the one I was just mentioning where we got kicked out. We wanted to shoot at a really cool place in Malibu that was an old tile factory, so to speak, and it's a beautiful house and called the Adamson House. And I showed up and I had a permit, and I had gone earlier and asked which permit, and the ranger had said, "Oh yeah, you have the right one." So I showed up with her and her mom, and we took one picture. And the gentleman said, "Hey, do you have a permit?" And somebody came up and I said, "Oh gosh, yes, I do." And I showed the permit, and they said, "That's the wrong permit. So you have a state park. This is a national park." And so I was just so embarrassed,
Oh
and
my
they were so sweet, and they said, "Don't worry about it." And I said, "Hey, we're going to make this work." I said, "Don't even worry." And so we walked outside and just started walking, and the beach was there. And she said, "You know what? I actually like this better. I didn't even know." And so it was kind of a happy
Yeah.
accident that happened. While it was embarrassing, they were very kind, and I definitely learned a lesson there. But it ended up working out, and she said, "This is more me. The beach is my place. It's my favorite thing." And so she was kind of just walking around, kicking her feet, and looking at the tide pools there. And then she kind of squatted down to touch something, and I said, "Yes, yay, hold on, stay right there. It looks so pretty."
And
She looks really cute there. She's sweet. And I agree with you. Squatting is definitely hard. I find especially when the seniors, who they all love them, wear the short skirts.
oh, yeah.
It's problematic because you have to have a level of appropriateness. And so she just happened to do it just right. And then her hand was kind of covering very perfectly there, as you said, supporting the other arm. So I think that really helped.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of pitfalls in a lot of posing combined with what they're wearing. I had
Yes.
this year, so many of my girls wore very, very short dresses, which they look fantastic in. It seems like so many of my senior girls are very athletic.
Yes.
So they have knockout legs.
Yeah.
And I would be wearing the short dresses too, but I'm talking so short that I couldn't even sit them in a
Yes.
chair.
Yeah.
So I feel like in a way it makes it so I can't give them a lot of variety.
That's what I always say too. Yeah.
You can't do all the sitting, the laying on the ground, or the
Yeah.
sitting on the ground because the dress doesn't allow it. So
No.
yeah. So all right, moving on. This is a beach picture, right? Are you at the beach?
It's Ventura, where it's like a kind of a gross parking lot where we parked. And I was just testing the lighting, and we were walking to a mural that was behind it. And then I just said, "Oh, that doesn't look bad. I don't hate that." And I said, "It's weird brick in the back. It's a little like all over the place," but it ended up working out.
This to me is exactly the type of portrait that fills all of our galleries. It might not be the one that we splash all over our social media or whatever. It's technically beautiful. Everything about it is just right. But it's not, the girl wearing roller skates with the lollipops and stuff, and that's not real senior portraiture. It's just us having fun. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's
Yeah.
our stock in trade is doing this. beautiful portraits of kids in beautiful locations. And it doesn't have to be anything more than that.
Yeah. And I'm actually, it's funny you mentioned it, I'm struggling with that myself because that class I took recently was for more of an editorial training in getting the kids to look, like you said, the roller skates out in downtown, LA, where they're going by in a really crazy outfit. And I love that. And I think it looks amazing. And you're right. Does it look like it should be in Vogue or some sort of magazine? Yes, it does. But will any of my clients do that stuff? No. So I got home and laid in bed struggling with it because I thought, what a cool thing. And how beautiful are those photos? But my clients are very interesting because they all want to look like themselves. They don't want hair and makeup. They won't go get it done. It's pretty rare. They get their nails done, but generally they want to do their own hair, their own makeup, because they don't want to feel unlike their normal everyday self. And they're pretty darn confident kids. I haven't had any that were not confident yet, which is so cool. But I just feel like I have the normal kid that wants to wear the clothes that they like. And I tell them to bring outfits. And sometimes their outfits are literally their grungy sweater and jeans. And one girl showed up and I said, "Are you going to change?" And she said, "No, this is my outfit." And it had dog hair on it. She said, "This is me. That's my dog hair." That's what I said. Then we're doing it. Right. And they loved it. They were so happy, sent me a referral. So I've stopped like arguing and like fighting back of I need perfection in an outfit and stuff. Does it help? Yes. When I go to these conferences, when I take a photo of something that somebody else has styled, it just is like pow, and everything's just like great. But unfortunately, my clients just won't do it. So it's normal like this, like you said.
It's certainly true for me. I've been doing a lot of styled shoots over when my busy season is, I'm in my off season, and I'm doing a lot of styled shoots. They're really beautiful. I mean, I know that sounds braggy, but they're very cool.
No, they are, yeah.
Very beautiful portraits. But when it comes time to figure out what they want in their album, they don't choose those. Not very often. They might get one in there. They just want the ones from their normal senior shoot where they're wearing their clothing and looking like themselves and not, dressed up like a disco ball.
Yeah. But like you said, I mean, they're pretty amazing. And it's, I don't know, you just stop and go, whoa, that's so cool. What a story that tells. How fascinating. Look at all these details. And so I am way more drawn in to those editorial type ones. But when I look at these, as I said earlier, I know these kids. I know their moms. I've known most of these kids since they were little. And so for me, when I look at them, they make me happy because they look like her or him, right? And I just think it just, that's what makes me so proud, is that it's like an elevated, beautiful version of them, but just them. It's just,
yes. I totally agree. And this is what we should be striving for. Then we can, when we want to shoot for ourselves, we get our models in, we dress them like disco balls, and we have a good time doing that. But the average client's not going to want it. Okay, moving on. This one is a little different for me. It's a little more misty, a little more pastel-y than the other images of yours.
It's funny. I don't know why that happened that day. I shoot in the same spots a lot. And I think depending on their skin color, their hair color, if we have pollutants in the air or if it's misty, or I don't know what happened this day, but I took the pictures of her the whole day and I just kept saying, wow, it's very sweet and pastel-y. I think because her skin is so creamy and the outfit has that pastel color. So I don't think it was anything different I was doing, and I definitely didn't do any different editing. It just kind of worked out.
I get that too. I think sometimes even the general atmosphere, if there's haze,
Yeah.
if there's wildfire smoke in the air, it's
Yes.
I
Yes.
think skin tones are so hard. We don't have wildfires here, but we get your smoke. And so we do. And it will totally cloud the air for days and days. And
Fascinating.
I just cringe when that happens because I know I'm going to be battling the skin tones all day long. But sometimes then it makes really interesting things like you're talking about here, where this is really soft and pastel-y, even though shot the way you normally do it, just happened to come out different because of the atmospheric conditions or the way the sun was that day or whatever. And I get that all the time. But
Yeah.
it's cool and it makes something pretty like this.
And ironically, she contacted me yesterday. She's now graduating college. So same girl I get to photograph. So it'll be fascinating to see what I what I
Yeah.
do now, what she looks like. And is it going to look pastel-y? I don't know.
Maybe it's just her.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
true.
gonna head on. We've got a guy here, which we don't tend to talk about guys as much because our clientele is largely girls most of the time, for most of us anyway. And you've got him against an ivy-like wall, and there's nothing better than a wall of greenery.
Yeah.
Which always makes such a cool portrait. So again, you've got a guy, you can tell he's a little amused by you.
Yeah.
And I love it. He's not like, he doesn't have the fake smile on. You must have said something funny to him, but I think that's a mark of a good photographer when you can get your clients out of the cheese and get them to actually give you genuine facial expressions.
Absolutely. And it was raining, and you can tell this one has such a darker, kind of more moody feel. It was dark and cold, and it was like basically raining on and off. So he was a trooper. And he had curly hair to boot. So
Yes, it looks cute.
I
So
think that the shadows, it just worked for him that day because he has really cool chiseled face, and his cheekbones are really neat. I just love them. And I think it just, the way that the sun and the clouds worked, it just kind of really emphasized it.
yeah, are you out in the open then? You're not in shade, or it's just, yeah.
That was out in the open. Yep.
Okay. I like the composition where you've got him a little off center, but you've got this wall here that kind of barricades him off from the far. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it kind of frames him in the picture
Yeah,
a bit. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the one tip that I would give, that you mentioned that you love a green wall. I love it, but I also hate it because it casts on the skin green. Now, if I would have had somebody that was there holding a reflector for me, I think I wouldn't have had to struggle with that green cast.
One thing I don't like about reflectors, though, if you're having to hold it yourself, usually you've got it really low at an angle, like at their feet angling towards you. And that
Yeah,
creates this uplighting that I really don't love,
agree.
where so much here and here is lit. And, uplighting is usually considered like a scary way to light movies.
Yeah,
And I don't want it in my portraits. So if I
yeah.
hold it myself, I'm not loving the look. Oh, this is a lovely landscape, lovely portrait. One thing I picked this one out to talk about, and it's really not so much about you in particular, but it's this thing where girls want to be cute.
Yeah,
So this leg lifted, the girls always want to like kick to the back, kick to the front,
yeah,
be all cute. And whenever they do this, am I wrong? They always put their shoulder
yeah,
up. I'm always having to say, put your shoulder down. It's blocking
yeah,
your chin. But
yeah.
like everybody wants to kick and chin raise.
Agree.
I just have to laugh inside, They're like, can I kick? It's like, sure.
It's always their favorite too. It's
Yes,
always their favorite. I'll show them the back of the camera as I go, and they always say, "Oh my God, I love that one." So,
my girls then will start freelancing kicks in after I let the dam breaks, and I let them do the kick. Can I kick? I'm like, sure. Then now they'll just freelance and they'll just start kicking
oh, that's funny.
here and there.
That's cute.
I know, it's cute. And then of course, what goes on Instagram, it's the cutesy little kicks.
Oh,
Yes, they love it.
this location, I don't know if somebody's new. It's something to point out that I struggle with. I love it, but it is interesting, and I still do it every time. But the road is going downhill,
Yes.
and then the fence is kind of at a different angle,
Yeah.
but then that little barn is almost like lifted on something. So every time I take pictures here, I'm always trying to and then the tree's leaning too on top of it. So I always struggle here with going like, does this look like you're in a fun house? And
It's
And
almost like anytime you're on a landscape, you're going to have hills and
yeah,
valleys and things that aren't built straight. And I'm always like, which line am I supposed to be straight?
yeah,
Like, which do I straighten according to the fence, the road, the roof? And sometimes I'll try to get, like transform tool and try to fix it a little, but
yes.
then I don't know, it's just too much.
So sometimes I just like this. I go, you know what? She looks cute. And I don't know that anybody would notice it but me and overanalyze it. So when I look at it, sometimes the lines drive me bonkers. But then I go, it's cute. Like, I love it. Like,
Just
but and I can't do too much. Every time I tried to fix it any other way, I thought, man,
It's like release and move on because my husband will walk by and he'll be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I can't get it straight. When I straighten this line, then this one isn't straight." And he's like,
yeah,
"Who cares? The
yeah,
client doesn't care. They look so cute, so pretty.
yeah,
All she's gonna see." And I'm like, "You're right. You're right. I'm moving on."
yep, yep. We're too hard on ourselves sometimes. Yeah.
And just get caught up in little details that really don't matter other than in our photographer heads.
Yes.
Yeah. Or I imagine like the print competition judges like frowning because my lines aren't straight. And it's like, I need to just not. And these ones, I don't even enter print competitions, but it's the ones in my head. So why am I trying to please these people? They don't
Because
even.
I was going to tell you, I actually have never entered. I
Yeah.
don't enter anything anywhere. I just take pictures and give them out. I just kind of go, they're either good or they're not. People hire me or they don't.
Yeah. Well, I do the Senior Muse 50 to follow, and they judge by print competition standards, which are really harsh. So I'm always like, oh my God, the Senior Muse people won't like this. Another stock and trade of ours. So, boys leaning against walls.
Yeah.
We all do a lot of it. The boys love it. It's like an expected thing. He looks so good here. I love that he's in the casual zipper thing. It's not a hoodie. What is it? Sweatshirt.
Yeah, yeah,
And again, he's looking really comfortable with you. I just love that little look on his face. The whole environment is just really lovely.
it's just as I said, where that other girl was, the girl in the blue dress, it's a parking lot and that it's just around the corner. And I just think it looks so nice. And even though it's kind of like a pink color in the back, it's pulling a little more salmon. I don't find that it's too feminine. Like I try with boys to think
Yeah.
what looks more masculine as far as colors and stuff, or maybe according to what they're wearing. And he was kind of wearing dull colors, browns. And so I thought, no, I think it's all complementary.
It is. And, the great thing about walls, especially this one, is it's got all those leading lines. And
Yeah,
we're always trying to look for ways to visually point at our subject. And this wall really helps out with that.
true. And the shallow depth of field, right? Using the 85 and
Yes. Because, if you shot with a 28 millimeter 2.8 or, shot at 4.0 on any lens, that brick is going to become so overwhelming, visually
yeah,
overwhelming. And it's going to fight for your subject, and the wall is going to be fighting
yeah,
for attention. So that's why we girls who love our shallow depth of field, one of the reasons we love it, right? It really,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
it puts a three-dimensional focus on our subject.
Yeah. Kind of leads you right to it.
Yes, it sure does. This to me is very Stacy. You've got a lot of backlighting in your work, and the lighted up hair, and of course the beachy environment, the kid with the wonderful expression that is not a cheesy one. And so you can tell what I like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the very natural moment. I bet she really was fixing her hair.
Yes. It was windy, windy, windy.
Got that leading line going through, and the shallow depth of field and the glow from the sun. So, do you shoot on the beach a lot?
Oh, I do. I don't like it. I
Every
don't like it.
says so.
I avoid it. I try and talk them out of it every time. I don't like it. I don't know why. I just feel like it's always windy, like when I'm here at my house, the weather is fantastic and I drive a mile as the crow flies to Malibu and you get there and it's miserable. I mean, it's just sucked in, and their beautiful hair they spent time on just goes flat in seconds, or it's blowing everywhere, which sometimes the blowing can look really beautiful if it's blowing in the right direction and you get the right look. But generally they're very cold when that happens, so I always just cross my fingers and say, please be nice, please be nice. Or I go maybe like an hour before them so that I can kind of scout it. And if it's terrible, I say abort, and I make them meet me, over in the fields or something like that, because I just say, no, you're going to be so unhappy, and I'll send them a video. I really don't want them cold.
Well, and another thing, it's not just the hair and them being cold, but it's the flying clothing. That it's not just the skirt flying, it's the way that the fabric pulls around their body, and I just hate wind so much.
Yeah, so, but at times you use it and you go, oh my God, that added so much interest and movement and everything. But then you think, shoot, but out of 400 pictures, you got about 10 or 15 that you love, whereas normally you'd have 200 that you love, So, but do you need 200? No, maybe you just need the 15. And maybe that's what's important to them because they're surfers. And so sometimes they tell me, no, this is what I want. I don't care, blah, blah, blah. And so I just do it. And it, as you saw earlier, she was the one touching the water. It's her special place. Okay. She's a beach girl. Yeah. So she wanted it.
Worked out for her to have to go, that you had the wrong permit, honestly, because these are really pretty.
Yes. And really the place we were was kind of behind where that peak on that roof was, on the opposite side. And the light on her hair is nice. And I got the opportunity to get it because there was a opening. That's where we walked in.
Okay.
So that's why the light's coming through, or else it would have just been all gray and had a little bit on her head. But I just said, hey, block that doorway. And that helped give me my backlighting.
That's great. I love little behind the scenes insights like that. Talk about hell in straightening an image like we just talked about.
Right.
This is great.
Yeah.
But so many lines, and none of them, because of perspective, are going to be exactly straight if one is. But look how gorgeous this shot is. How cute. Does he just love In and Out? Or
he does. And I said, oh, do you work there or whatever? He said, no, it's my favorite place and it's where I want to go. And so, he said, meet me there. And I thought, oh God, they're going to kick us out. They're not going to let us do this. And they were super nice about it. At one point he walked up, can I get behind the counter? They're like, no, like, get out of here. So it was nice to just kind of sit there. And we kind of went before it gets really crowded. So we were able to kind of move at some different spots within there, which was cute. And his graduating school happened to be like a matching color, which was awesome. And it had the gold, kind of like their signage.
Yes. So
it just worked out. The one weird part about the picture, which some of my friends commented on, which was same thing. I thought I said, go get food so that in the picture you have the food. And then he came back with this. I said, what? This drink is rinky dinky and the straw looks huge. And he said, I hate soda. And I said, I don't care. I want it nice for the picture because it looks so tiny, like a kid's drink. And he said, I don't care. And so a couple of my friends said, I love the picture. I wish his soda was bigger, And I said, really? So they noticed what I noticed, which was kind of funny. Yeah. But
I see it now that you pointed out, but it didn't really jump out at me until you said something.
But again, it's just pointing out silly little things that somebody picks up on and somebody else doesn't, just to mention it to people,
Well, I think it's wonderfully lighted for being in the interior. I know there's lots of windows in there, but he's also got a window behind him, which could spell trouble. So you did a great job lighting it.
And it was like I don't know, 2:00 we met. So you can tell looking through that window, it is bright.
Gosh, I love too that he's looking out the window and he's got that cute little, I just like your facial expressions that you capture. And it's not just what you're capturing, but when you go through and cull your galleries, you're really choosing the interesting facial expressions. And I like that. Stacy, this has been really fun talking with you today.
Thank you.
And maybe after busy season is over for all of us, we'll regroup and see what new you have.